You guys can take a seat. Can you give it up for the youth worship band real quick? I'm still waiting for the day they let me sing, but they're not even nice about it. I'm like, can I sing? They're like, no. I'm like, okay. I thought it was a conversation we could have. If I haven't had the chance to meet you yet, my name's TJ, and I get to be the youth pastor here. And if you know me, there's one thing that I like more than almost anything, and it's snowboarding. And if you ever ask me, hey, when was the first time you go snowboarding, I would say I was 19 years old, and me and my friends from Orlando, we went to Steamboat. And every time I say that, I'm lying to you. Because the first time I went snowboarding was actually when I was 13 with my family. And it worked out perfectly. We went with our family friends. And so they had, my younger brother had his best friend. I had a girl that was my age. And then my sister had a guy her age that we could all hang out with. And here's the thing. I was madly in love with this girl. Like, madly in love. I'm not going to say her name because I think she's still alive. And so, to protect her, but I was madly in love. And I was like, this is perfect. This is my opportunity to impress her by snowboarding. I've never gone before, but how hard can it be? Like, I skateboard, I surf, I'll be fine. And so we go, and I don't know the whole heel side, toe side thing back then. I just knew that I could put my board straight and go really fast. And so my plan was I can just go really fast, and then when I get in front of her, I can just fall, and so she won't see me fall, and then I can get up. I'm like, oh, what took you so long? But the worst part was their family, they were the family that the second the kid got out of the womb, they put ski boots on him. And so they were the most gifted skiers I've ever seen in my entire life. And so I was like, okay, there's no chance that I'm ever going to keep up with her. And so I was like, hey, let's go to the terrain park. And I was like, yeah, like I can be right next to her the entire time. And if you don't know what a terrain park is, one side they have jumps. And so I'm thinking, I can go off a jump. How hard is it? You jump, you land. And then the other side, there was boxes. And a box is just this flat surface. And I was like, you know what? The line for the jumps are kind of long. Let's go on the boxes. And being the man that I am, I was like, I'll go first. And so I get on this box, and no one told me when you get on the box, you're supposed to keep your board really flat. And so I'm like, oh, I'm leaning kind of off the box. So I went back on my heels, landed on my butt. And the thing with these boxes that suck is you slide the entire way off the box. And so I slid completely off. And I'm like, I can't believe she just saw that. But the worst part was my stupid brother thought it was a good idea to follow me on this box. And so he's on his skis, and I look up, and all I see is my brother on this box, jumps, lands directly on my thumb. And here's the thing, I'll admit it, I'm not a manly guy, all right? So I start crying, and I'm like bawling my eyes out because he landed on my thumb. Turns out he actually broke my thumb. And I see her, I'm not gonna say her name again, but I see her going down, and she's like, you okay? I'm like, with my other thumb, like, yeah, I'm good. The worst part was Ski Patrol, because Ski Patrol saw it, and so Ski Patrol came, and the worst thing is they made me get in one of those things that follow them, like those body bags that you think people died in. And so I had to go down the mountain in a body bag where people thought I died in, and when I got to the bottom, my family and her family was right there. I was like, I lost all opportunity to play it cool. Like, I can't play it cool at all. And so you think, after that scenario, I would never go snowboarding again. Like, that's a terrible first time snowboarding, but what I found out is I have so much peace when I snowboard. I have so much just rest when I'm on the mountain. And the thing with snowboarding is it is so expensive. It is $140 for a day pass to Keystone right now. $140. And then if you count in your board setup, which is like $1,000, and then your gear, snowboarding costs a lot of money. But the value for me is completely worth it. Because what I value, I don't really care about the cost. We're in this series that's talking all about worship, and what I want to talk to you about today is that worship is going to be really costly. True, genuine worship is going to cost you something. But before we get into that, these three words have helped me understand worship in a new sense. The first word is knowledge, second word understanding, and then the last one wisdom. Knowledge is simply the facts. Knowledge is, hey, it's going to rain tomorrow. Why? Because you checked the weather app. And then understanding it is to perceive that intended meaning, and then wisdom is simply your applied knowledge. So I'll put it this way. We all know that texting and driving is bad, right? We all know texting and driving, we have the knowledge that it's bad. But if I were to ask how many of you text and drive, probably a lot of you would raise your hand. Until maybe a loved one or you get in a car accident. And then that changes. Because your understanding of the severity of texting and driving turns into wisdom. Or I'll say it this way. I dated a girl in high school, and it was our 1-year anniversary. And I was like, what do you want to do for our 1-year anniversary? And she goes, I just kind of want to chill out. Heads up, when a girl says that, she never actually wants to just chill out. And so I'm like, perfect. And so I got Rugrats in Paris, the movie, and I ordered a pizza. And I was like, this is perfect. Like, we're the boyfriend of the year. And so she comes over, and she's like, what are we doing? Where are we going? I'm like, oh, I thought we were just hanging out. I got us a movie and pizza. And she was like, that's it? That's all we're doing? And I was like, that's what you said. Never say that, first off. And then, but now I have the wisdom for our 2nd-year anniversary if we would have got there because we broke up. But if we would have had a 2nd anniversary, you would have bet that I would have had a candlelit dinner. I would have went all out if I would have just known. But now I have the wisdom. Why am I saying all of this? It's because most of us don't have the wisdom to worship because we never understood why we should worship. Most of us don't have the wisdom to worship because we never understood why. And so what I want to do is I want to read a story that shows, it's in Matthew, and it's the most beautiful picture of, hey, I don't care the cost. Jesus, I'm going to worship you with everything. But before we do that, I want to pray. Dear Jesus, I pray for every single person in this room. I pray that you are speaking directly to them. I pray for March Madness as Illinois faces Houston right now. I pray that you give Illinois the strength and the courage to destroy Houston and make my bracket somewhat good. And we all said, amen. The game's happening right now, and I'm with you guys, heart and soul, not even focused on it. But if someone can tell me the score, that'd be great. That wasn't a joke. Okay. Matthew 26, 6-13. Now when Jesus was at Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, a woman came to him with an alabaster flask of very expensive ointment. She poured it on his head as he reclined at the table, and when the disciples saw it, Houston's winning? Wow, you just ruined this entire sermon. That hit home. All right. So back to the Bible. I'm going to start over. Matthew 26. Focus, TJ. Don't distract me. Now when Jesus was... Are they really... Sorry, okay. Now when Jesus was at Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, a woman came up to him with an alabaster flask of very expensive ointment. And she poured it on his head as he reclined at the table. And when the disciples saw it, they were indignant, saying, why this waste? For this could have been sold for a large sum and given to the poor. But Jesus, aware of this, said to them, why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a beautiful thing to me. For you always have the poor with you, but you will not always have me. In pouring this ointment on my body, she has done it to prepare me for my burial. Truly I say to you, wherever this gospel is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her. I think what happens a lot of times when we read the Bible is we romanticize stories because we've heard them so many times. And so we read a story like Jonah, and we're like, oh, that's my favorite story. Yeah, but it's kind of weird if you think about it. Dude was swallowed by a whale or a fish for 3 days and then got spat back out. You tell that to anyone that doesn't go to church, they're probably going to call you crazy, but we're here like, oh, like that's my favorite story. And I think what happens here when we read this story, we're like, the disciples, how could they have little faith? Do they not understand what this woman is trying to do? She's trying to give Jesus everything, but let's put it in modern day terms. Let's say you have a son, and your son is living paycheck to paycheck. And he has savings, but that's pretty much it. Besides that, he's living paycheck to paycheck. And he comes to church, and he gives his entire savings to the local church. And now he's struggling because he doesn't know how he's going to afford rent. I think as a parent, you would be like, well, did you have to give everything to the church? Like, did you have to pour it all out? Couldn't you have kept a little bit? I think if we're being honest, that's probably where our mind would go. But this woman knew firsthand the grace of God. This woman had to experience something with Jesus that she was willing to give everything. And in John chapter 12, I'm going to show you why this woman was willing to worship no matter the cost. Funny thing is at youth, it's going to sound weird, but during worship, I actually go to the balcony. Because one of my favorite things is watching our youth students worship. It freaks out our tech team. Because they're like, where's TJ? They're freaking out. Spencer's like calling me a million times. He's like, TJ, you're preaching in 20 seconds. And I'm up there just crying, looking at my students, giving everything in worship. But there's one leader that always stands out to me. And I'm not going to say his name, but he always stands right there. And I always see him with both hands in the air, worshiping Jesus with tears in his eyes. Every single Sunday night. Every single Sunday night. And I'm like, man, how does, and he doesn't care about what song is playing. It's like, see a victory, yeah, and then, oh gosh, it might get loud. Like, Jeremy, we get it. It might get loud. The music is really loud. Let's bring back Oceans. We should bring back Oceans. That was a good song, right? Like, let's bring that back to church. Like, he doesn't care what song it is. He's worshiping Jesus with all his heart, and my favorite thing is right behind him, his students and his group are worshiping just as hard as him. He is setting the example of what it looks like to worship no matter the cost. And so in John chapter 12, something happens, and we hear why this woman was willing to give everything. And John chapter 12 follows John chapter 11. Never, like, Clay, cool, like, I can teach biblical stuff too. So John chapter 11, and then John chapter 12. 11, 12. Got it? Cool. John 12. 6 days before Passover, Jesus came to Bethany where Lazarus lived. Lazarus was the one that was dead, right? Continue reading, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Oh, right. He raised Lazarus from the dead, one of Jesus' many miracles, but one of the most powerful. Here a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Martha served, while Lazarus, one, he was dead, now he's alive, was among them reclining at the table. Here's where we find out who the woman is. Mary was Lazarus' sister. Mary, therefore, took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. Okay, now I understand. Now I get why she was willing to worship no matter the cost, because she saw her brother dead in a tomb for 4 days. She saw her brother lifeless, laying there with a tomb in front of it. And this person of Jesus came and lifted her brother from the dead. And so she is saying, I have seen too much good of what Jesus has done to not give him everything. I don't care about the cost because my brother was dead and now he's reclining at the table with me. He has done too many good things for me not to give him everything. Here's the thing, you invest in what you value. You invest in what you value, and she valued Jesus more than anything because she saw firsthand what he did. And then this is where the wisdom comes in. Like, she probably could have kept some of the perfume, smelled good for a little bit, but she gave everything. And it says this in Matthew, truly I say to you, wherever this gospel is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her. So wherever the gospel is preached, right here, her sacrifice is among you. That's how powerful this verse is. And what it's showing us is that sometimes the greatest acts of worship don't come with your vocal cords. Sometimes the greatest acts of worship in your life don't come by you singing and praising, but it comes with giving God everything, every single part of your life, the good, the bad, the ugly, the things you hide. You invest in what you value. It's like a kid and their dad. What can a kid give his dad that the dad doesn't already have? The one thing a kid could give his dad is praise and adoration and love. It's like the worship is the one thing in our life that we are giving God everything. Think about it. Like, you read your Bible. That's an instruction manual, a love letter from God on how to live. You pray. It's, hey, God, I want a relationship with you, but I'm also really struggling right here. Worship is the one thing in our spiritual walk that is, hey, God, I'm doing this because I've seen too many good things. I've seen you do too many good things in my life. So I'm going to worship you heart and soul. And it continues, the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas, of course it was Judas, one of the disciples, and I love how it says this, he who was to betray him, or about to betray him, said, why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii? Denarii is just a day's wage. So it was a year's wage that she poured on Jesus' feet and given to the poor. He said this, not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. And having charge of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put into it. Jesus said, leave her alone so that she may keep it for the day of my burial. For the poor you will always have with you, but you do not always have me. And so what I want to do today is, there's no recollection in the Bible of Mary regretting her decision. Like, there's no recollection of Mary pouring out the perfume and being like, crap, I should have probably kept a little bit of it. No, she gave everything she had to Jesus, and there was no looking back. How do we have Mary's mindset? How the heck do we have the mindset where we can give Jesus a year's wage and it's not even a thing? It's like, Jesus, you are worth so much more, but this is what I have to give. There are two things I want to leave you with in order to do that. The first thing, in order to have Mary's mindset, is we have to deal with our baggage. Because all of us, if we're being honest, we have baggage that we never brought before Jesus. And so this backpack represents our life. And over time, maybe it started off as small things, right? Maybe I got bullied in school. And Jesus, I never told you how much that bothered me. And so it goes in our backpack. Or maybe we struggle with self-worth. And so what we do is we look on computer screens and look at things we're not supposed to for years, and now it's been years and we're addicted and we don't tell anyone. Yeah, I'm going to be real today. So that goes in the bag. And this one's mine. I remember first believing in Jesus and coming home and telling my parents, and they were confused. They didn't understand why I did what I did. And then I remember coming home and telling my dad that I want to be a pastor. And him telling me that no son of mine will ever be a pastor. And so the resentment I have for Jesus is, hey, you took the one guy away from me that I wanted to be most proud of me. So that goes in my bag. This one's also mine. We did a mental health series at youth, and it was probably one of the most life-giving things I've ever been a part of. And I remember telling our youth team, it's going to be hard for me to lead this because I don't really struggle with anxiety or depression. Knowing firsthand that was the biggest lie I could have told them. Because what they didn't know is that I've been struggling with severe anxiety to the point where I've seen counselors, I've seen doctors, because it is so hard for me to get out of bed. And it's crippling me every single day. And I'm like, Jesus, I got to be strong for my students, and so I can't tell them that I'm going through this. That is the biggest lie you will ever hear. So what happens is I put this in my bag. And then maybe we get into a relationship and we're like, hey, can you help me carry this? I really need you to help me carry this bag. And they're like, yeah, of course. Hang on, one second. Can you also carry mine? Because I come with a lot of baggage too. And so what happens is we're relying on other people to carry the weight of our baggage. And what that's called, it's called codependency, or it's also called relationship addiction. Because as much as a person can love you, as much as a person can help you through a difficult time, they cannot heal you. There's not a person on this planet that can heal you. Why? Because they're broken just like you. But what happens is when we are finally before Jesus and we're like, Jesus, okay. I wish my dad would have stayed, and it pissed me that you took him away from me. There, that's what I have, Jesus. I'm struggling with anxiety, and I want to be strong, but I can't. What do I do? Why couldn't you have made me different? Why couldn't this be not a struggle or something that I have to deal with? Why me? And the rocks slowly come out. But what happens in that process is, I believe, true healing. Because God can't heal what you hide from him. God can't heal what you keep concealed from him. God can't heal those areas of your life that you want no one to know about. Jesus is saying, hey, I'm bigger than all those, and I'm bigger than your doubts. I'm bigger than your yells at me. I'm bigger than so much more. Just take them out of your bag. Those were never meant for you to carry. How do we have Mary's mindset? Maybe this week in your marriage or just between you and God, you address the things that you have kept hidden. You address the things that, hey, God, I'm pissed at you. I don't know why you made me do this. I don't know why you took this away from me. And it hurts and it's hard. But can I tell you that's the first step in healing? The next thing is we have to ask ourselves the question, what Jesus did Mary know? Like, really, what Jesus did Mary know? She saw Jesus perform one of the greatest miracles in the Bible, raising her brother from the dead. That's the Jesus she knew. But I think with us, what happens is we kind of diminish all the miracles God has done in our life because maybe it's been a while. And maybe you haven't seen a big miracle. And so we're like, Jesus, that was great. You did that 3 years ago, but I'm still struggling right now. I think we forget what Jesus has done in your life. I think we forget what Jesus has brought you through. And so this week, I encourage you to go get coffee with a friend and ask them, hey, can I tell you my story? Not for them to hear your story, but maybe because you need to hear it again. Maybe you need to hear the story of how Jesus loved you so much and where you were and where you are now. The last thing is, I think you have to understand to celebrate the little victories in your life. Celebrate the daily, little, tiny things that are miracles. Because I think so often we look at the big miracle and Jesus is like, I'm performing miracles in your life every day. You are just so blind to even see it. Like, I'm excited to have a cinnamon roll after this. I'm starving. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to going snowboarding with my friends before season is over. I'm going bowling tonight. Who goes bowling anymore? But I'm looking forward to it. Celebrate the little victories in your life. Because here's the thing that we have to understand. We don't worship God for love. We worship God from love. It's in a response of what Jesus did, and that's why we worship. And so if you're in here and you're like, TJ, that's great and all, but I don't have a relationship with Jesus. But like I said, you worship from love. So if everyone can stand up real quick. If you're in here tonight and you're like, hey, TJ, I don't believe in Jesus. Can I tell you that there's a God that loves you so much? And I don't know your story. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what you're walking through, but I know the story stays the same because it's that good. That God loved you so much, but there's a problem, and that problem was our sin. And what sin does is sin separates us from a loving God, but God loved you so much, he sent the best messenger he had. He didn't send an angel. He didn't send a prophet. He sent his son, Jesus, to walk this earth, to perform miracles like we just read. And Jesus is calling us to put these rocks back. Jesus is calling us, hey, lay these at the altar. I'm big enough to handle these. And then Jesus went to the cross to die for our sins. But here's the thing. If Jesus would have stayed dead, we wouldn't be here right now. You don't get to go around claiming you're the Son of God for 33 years, and then when you die, stay dead. But Jesus did exactly what he said he was going to do, and he defeated death by raising to life again and being the resurrected life. And the Bible makes it so clear. If you believe in your hearts and you confess with your mouth, you will be saved. So if everyone in this room could close your eyes real quick. I'm not saying when you give your life to Jesus that everything's going to be easy. I'm not saying when you give your life to Jesus, everything's going to work out. We are promised that, hey, we're going to face trials of this world, but guess what? With Jesus, you have a hope. With Jesus, you have a person that has overcome this world, and your doubts and your struggles and your problems are no match for what he can do. And so I want to give you a chance to respond. If you're in here and you've never accepted Jesus into your life, when I count to 3, I just want you to simply raise your hand. I believe this with my heart. When Jesus was dying on the cross, he was thinking about this moment, that his son, that his lost sheep would come home. Don't miss this opportunity. This moment is too big. Your life isn't going to be quote unquote better, but you're going to have a hope in a person that loves you more than any person on this earth could. 1, 2, 3. Just slip your hand up and meet me eye to eye. I see your hand back there. I'm so proud of you, man. I see your hand. I see your hand. That is the best decision that you will ever make in your entire life. Like I said, though, it doesn't get easier from here, but you do have hope. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go into another worship song that has been my anthem for the past few weeks. This song is all about this story that we just read. This song is all about, hey, God, whatever it is, I'm bringing it to the altar. I want to be the oil. I want to be the sacrifice. And so I tell my students this every single week at youth. Maybe today is the day where you finally like, Jesus, I am worshiping no matter what. I don't care who's on the left or who's on the right of me. Don't judge anyone's worship because you don't know their warfare. You don't know what they came in here fighting. And so when they're lifting their arms, when they're singing at the top of their lungs, this is them saying, Jesus, I've seen you do too many good things to let this moment pass. And so as we go into the song, I encourage you. If you believe in Jesus, if you think Jesus has done so much in your life, be bold and raise your hands. Be bold and say, Jesus, I'm surrendering everything. Be bold and singing loud. Be bold and saying, hey, Jesus, right now, no one else is in this room besides me and you. Me and you are in this room. Picture yourself looking directly at Jesus as you sing this song. God, these next moments, this is the one thing that we can give to you, and it's our praise and our adoration. Use this time. Break chains that have been formed for so long. Heal people that feel like they can't be healed. In Jesus' name, amen.